I'm going to talk about eCoin today. Chris, don't worry, my presentation may be short because this is a simple procedure. Um, so the eCoin, it's about a 2.3 centimeter device, about the size of a nickel, and it's 3 millimeters thick. It's implanted in the medial aspect of the ankle above the medial malleolus. And, I know Dr. Sutherland made it sound like we shouldn't be afraid of the anatomy down here, but to me, the last time I studied this anatomy was 25 years ago. I probably wasn't very good at it. I think the power of the eCoin, it's actually above the fascia. And so for the urologist who doesn't know this area, there's less fear of being in this area. It's implanted along the tibial nerve and implanted above the fascia. So the eCoin procedure was designed to be performed under local anesthesia only, and it was designed to have a consistent and repeatable placement with an excellent patient experience. There's a focus on sterile technique and safe dissection above the fascia. So one of the nice things about eCoin is it comes basically with everything you need. This whole kit includes everything you see here. The only things that you need to provide are chlorhexidine for the prep and your preferred local anesthetic. These were not included in the packaging because I think there were some other compliance requirements that would have made it more difficult with expiration dates and things. However, it comes with all the sutures you need, dermabond, it even comes with the instruments. Now, they say these are disposable instruments, but when you look at them, they're actually really high quality, and I've actually saved a few sets after procedures, sterilized them, and I take them home for my 5 and 7-year-old kids when they need sutures and things. I've also heard people donate them to surgical missions and things like that. So it comes with this custom marking template, and we mark out the medial malleolus, and at the midpoint, we put the corner of the template. And then we mark two areas. We mark this circle as seen in the picture and the line. And in the bottom right, we see what the final marking looks like. The vertical line is where we'll make an incision to tunnel the device, and the circle is where the device will sit. And the incision here is only 3 centimeters. So after installation of local anesthetic, we incise that vertical line. We cut down past the dermis to the level of the subcutaneous fat. And most of the time, all I do is take a Raytec, a wet Raytec, put my finger in there, sweep it up and down, and you generally hit the fascia. I do minimal sharp dissection, and it's, in my opinion, safe. You can feel where the fascia is, and it's very hard to violate that. Once you've gotten down to the fascia, you use their tunneling tool, which comes in the kit, and you basically just push down to where that circle is. After this, you irrigate the pocket with your irrigation, and then you change your gloves, and you simply place the device into that pocket. After that, once you've done a couple of these procedures, this part probably takes about 5 minutes to do. What takes the most time is actually a 3-layer closure. Valencia has done a good job, I think, of working with lower extremity surgeons and plastic surgeons on developing a good closure technique to minimize infection. As urologists, I think we're a little cavalier oftentimes about closing incisions, so we've learned a lot through this process of how to close the incision, and that's actually what takes most of the time. So post-op, the device is activated 2 weeks, and it stimulates the tibial nerve for 30 minutes, and for the first 18 weeks, it's every 3 days, and after that, it's every 4 days. In the pivotal trials, it was set in an average of 8 milliamps, and at that point, the battery lasts 3 years. It does appear that in the real-world setting, we're seeing a lot of devices lower, and we're seeing battery lives that could go out to 4, 5, and 6 years with this device. So in their pivotal trial, we see about 75% of the patients were 50% or better at 1 year, and the dry rate was about 23% at 1 year. And after I submitted these slides, I found out the 2-year data came out, and it actually continues to be exactly the same. So it seems like there are longer-term durable results. So in the real-world experience since commercialization, there's been over 1,000 implants. I wrote that there's a 0.5% explant rate due to infection. I just learned it was actually 0.4%. There's been 1 reported fascial injury. And in that case, the surgeon recognized it and went to the other side with no significant sequelae. There's been no reported device failures and no clinically significant migrations. So why eCoin? It's a safe, easy dissection above the fascia. Remember, once we get below the fascia, there's a lot of stuff that we don't want to see. And I don't necessarily feel that comfortable being in that space. There's an automatic stimulation 2 times a week and no need for an external appliance. You know, in my experience, when rechargeable sacral neuromodulation first came out, I did a ton of them. I was very excited about rechargeable technology. I just found patient compliance was poor when they actually had to actively intervene. And we showed that our revision rate is twice as high for rechargeable systems at the last AUA. And so I basically stopped doing that. I just feel that this may also, I mean, the Blue Wind may have some issues with compliance long term. So, you know, in the words of legendary pitchman Ron Popeil, I say set it and forget it for all those of you guys who watched the infomercials in the 90s. The one thing I'd like to highlight is patient preference. One of my residents last year did a study looking at third-line therapy preference, and this was after eCoin was FDA approved, but Blue Wind was not yet approved. And so what we did was we asked patients a nationalized sample of what their preferred third-line therapy was, and we told them about the pluses and minuses of each therapy. And this is predicated on no insurance barriers, just pure patient preference. And what we found was that 28% of patients preferred Botox, about the similar preferred PTNS, about half at 14% went for sacral neuromodulation, and 27% said none of them. So for this stage, Botox was the most popular, basically tied with PTNS, followed by sacral neuromodulation. And then we introduced the concept of implantable tibial nerve stimulation. And when we talk about the pluses and minuses, again, this was with the pluses and minuses of eCoin because that was the only available one at the time. We see there's significant shifts. That Botox really didn't take a hit in patient preference. However, the relative change in both PTNS and sacral neuromodulation were pretty significant. About 29% of the patients, PTNS went down by about 29% and sacral neuromodulation about 44%. And interestingly, 19% of the patients picked implantable tibial nerve stimulation. And so it kind of reshuffled the deck here where Botox, again, once remained the most popular, but now PTNS and implantable tibial nerve stimulation tied for second place, followed by sacral neuromodulation. The other thing that I think this study showed is about 5% of patients went from wanting none of the therapies to wanting the implantable tibial nerve stimulation. And I think this is important because when we look, I think Dr. Brucker at NYU published recently a study from the Aqua database and shows that only something like 1.5, 1.6% of patients with overactive bladder in this country get a third-line therapy. So I think the more options we have, the better for patients. And I think there's a place both for the Revi and eCoin. I just don't know where that is yet. Because I think based on patient preference of either whether they could be in control or not, or they don't want to deal with it and just want to set and forget device will determine which device they may be interested in. And to finish, you know, I think eCoin just keeps it simple. Thank you.